except when she was in daycare, she did have a teacher that did make fun of her hair. Now,
really?
Yes. Because now in Japan, usually children are not supposed to have their ears pierced, and I knew that, but I just thought, well, my girl wants her ears pierced, so I'm going to do that. So I knew there would be some ramifications. We came back, sure enough, there were ramifications.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Melanated Files. My name is Ranzo, and today we're joined by CB. CB, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Can you introduce yourself to the world? Tell them who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing in Japan.
Sure. My name is CB, and I'm from California, Los Angeles, and I have been living in Japan for 23 years now.
All right, so what brought you to Japan?
What brought me to Japan? I basically wanted to come to Japan because I was interested in doing television.
So did you get a job offer in Japan, or you came here with the intention of actually getting on TV in Japan?
No. Basically, I came to Japan by accident. I always had an interest in coming to Japan, but what happened was I came through a friend of mine, and he asked me to come, and it was supposed to be for a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and it turned to visit, that's it. And I wound up staying for 2 years, and then I liked it, and I renewed my visa, and then the third time I decided to change my visa to a working visa and decided to find employment here.
So why Japan? Like, what interests you in Japan? Like, why did you decide to stay?
Well, I always had interest in Japanese culture. I guess from the time I was 7 years old.
Okay, wow.
I always loved the language and just the overall culture and the beauty of the land. But I never had the opportunity to come until my friend approached me and asked me if I could come. And I was very lucky. I took him on his offer, and came. And I was immediately enthralled, by the land, by the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it what you envisioned in Japan?
Pretty much, but then so much more. The country is really so deeply steeped in history, culture, and mystery. And it's a very deep culture, and people are extremely nice, but they have very strong traditions in their ways, and it took quite a while to learn and understand, those little differences. I mean, a lot of differences between the West and East, or Japanese culture and the West.
So did you get to go on TV like you planned?
Yes, I did for a brief moment to do a small commercial for food commercial, but that was short, and I found that it wasn't bringing the success I wanted.
Okay.
Yes, so then I got into teaching.
Okay.
And I was doing that for a few years, and now I'm basically self-employed. There are a couple of things I do, from music to audio engineering, and also recently started doing YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, you can find me at AwesomeKyushu, YouTube.com.
All right. So what's the greatest struggle that you faced living in Japan for 23 years?
That's a difficult one.
What's one thing that keeps coming back? Like maybe a pet peeve or something?
I think as a foreigner in Japan, I think not for myself as much, but I think there are a lot of information. For example, like when there's an emergency pertaining to natural disasters, they don't have enough information, multilingual information for foreigners.
True.
In the emergency, if something happens, like a typhoon or whatever, when you get the alerts on your phone, not everyone can read Japanese. So at least if they had it basically in English, I think that would help quite a bit. But other than that, I can't really think of anything really off the top of my head that was really a serious struggle.
Okay. What was your greatest triumph, you would say, in Japan so far?
Learning the language and overcoming basic Western stereotypes. I think the more you understand and can speak the language, the more it helps you to get through, to get by, in any society, in any culture. I think sometimes when people say Japanese are prejudiced, I don't think that they're inherently born or are prejudiced because they don't like Westerners. I think it's because primarily they can't communicate.
Okay.
I think as long as they can communicate, then I think they have a lot less. You'll always have, some problems here or there, but if you can communicate, it helps a lot.
Okay, so when you say overcoming the Western stereotypes, what do you mean exactly, and how did you do that?
Well, for example, maybe foreigners are loud, or foreigners are rude, or they don't follow the manners or codes. For example, like if you go to an onsen, like Japanese hot spring, you don't follow the bathing rules.
Okay.
Things like that, and so they have this notion sometimes in Japan that foreigners are just going to break, the traditional codes and norms.
Oh, I see.
And I think that's also one problem. I think when foreigners come here, they should respect and follow the rules. It's only natural. They would want that the same in their own country as well.
So tell me about your black experience, right? So what has that been like for you living here as a black man?
What has it been like? For the most part, I would have to say not bad. I haven't really had problems problems with racial discrimination, so I really can't talk about any. I had a few comments here or there, but they weren't anything that I would consider super insensitive or degrading. So for me, for the most part, my experience has been pretty good, I would have to say. On a scale from 1 to 10, I would say pretty much I'll give it a solid 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My experience. My personal, so.
So you have a family here in Japan, right?
Yes, I do.
So tell me about some of the common struggles and the beauty of that dynamic, right? The intercultural, interracial relationship and family dynamic.
We could do a whole new segment on that one. That would be like a 2-hour segment on that one. No, I think, it has its challenges. It definitely has its challenges. There are a lot of cultural misunderstandings between both sides, but I think, it boils down to communication. Primary communication. I think both sides have to listen to each other, because what one side might think is funny or amusing, the other person might not think so, or what might infuriate one person might not infuriate another. So you're going to have misunderstandings for sure, but you just have to try to work it out. And sometimes it's very effective, works very well, and sometimes it doesn't, but you have to keep at it. I mean, it is a climb. It is a climb.
Okay.
I don't want to say it's always going to be perfect. No, it's not. But what marriage is perfect? But I think an interracial marriage, you do have to work a little bit more at it. But it's doable. It's doable for sure.
So tell me about some positives about the dynamic.
Positives. I think with any marriage there are positives, but I think in pertaining to Japanese, I think you're learning about one another. You're understanding a very beautiful culture. She's also understanding our culture, Western culture. It doesn't matter whether you're American, if you're British, Jamaican, Polish. All of our cultures are beautiful. And then when your Japanese spouse can learn that part is equally as well. It's a give and take, and I think it's all great. And then being married for so many years, my partner knows everything about me, what I like, what I don't like, so I don't really have to elaborate it or talk too much. She pretty much understands what I think, what I feel, and vice versa.
So how long have you been married?
17 years.
Okay.
17 years.
All right. So tell me about like your kids, for instance. We were talking about them earlier. Like, what's that like? Them going to school being mixed and stuff like that. Tell me about that.
Well, I don't think the little one has really had any problems so far. Really, she never had really any bad experience, except when she was in daycare. She did have a teacher that did make fun of her hair. Now,
really?
Yes, because it was so curly, and she kind of joked about it. And she was at the time, I think, around 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
And that kind of traumatized her. After that happened, she did not feel like having her hair open anymore.
Okay.
Yes, she didn't want that. So basically, she wanted her hair always braided or straightened. So she does have a complex to this day about letting her hair down naturally.
Is there anything that, as a father, that you probably like instilled in her to try to like bolster her confidence, increase her confidence, or get her more in touch with her black side?
Well, I told her that she, comes from a very, beautiful culture. She should embrace it. And I said, if she is around black people, they would never look at her in a very odd way. They would always accept her no matter what. Mm-hmm. And she should be proud of that. And she should understand she is coming from, the oldest culture on the planet. So that's something to have huge pride in. And she's beautiful the way she is. I love her to death, more than anything in this world. And but it doesn't matter what I say to her. She has to, within herself, find that beauty. Because as my child, it doesn't matter what I say, I'm always going to love her. But she has to find within herself that beauty. And if she can understand and accept that and see herself as being not imperfect, as being just, this is me. I am black. I am Japanese. She should take high pride in that, I am a person, I am a woman, and that there's a lot of positive things in that she should, take to heart.
Indeed. Have you taken her to the States as yet?
Yes, I have, a few times, and she loves it. She wants to study one of these days in the States, so she's brushing up on her English skills, trying to get that ready, and she has to brush up on her other skills as well. But other than that, yeah. So maybe in a few more years, then she can go to the States and study. So one of the things that my daughter experienced, one small negative thing, what turned out to be big, was when she was 8 years old, we took her to the States, and she got her ears pierced. And she was so excited. And I told her, well, what do you want? And what do you want? And she said, well, my biggest dream is I want my ears pierced. I want to look beautiful. So I thought, okay, I'll do that for you. When we were in the States, we took her to the mall, and we got her ears pierced. And she was beyond excited. She was so happy she started to cry. And I thought everything was great. Now, in Japan, usually children are not supposed to have their ears pierced. And I knew that. But I just thought, well, my girl wants her ears pierced, so I'm going to do that. So I knew there would be some ramifications. We came back. Sure enough, there were ramifications. And so a lot of people were shocked. Some people were appalled. Some people were upset. Why would you do that? Why would you get her ears pierced? And they thought, well, if she has to go to junior high school, then she can't have any holes in her ears or anything like that. Okay. So we were thinking, what are we going to do? But I didn't want to take that lying down because I did not think it was a bad thing. I understand we're in a different country, different culture, different rules. But I just thought it's, she wants her ears pierced. She should have it since we do it in the West early. So they finally, after a lot of wrangling and arguing, they gave in, and they said as long as her ears were, covered. Okay, so we had to, put a little plastic thing, to keep the holes from closing. And that worked out. And then once the holes were established, people didn't pay attention to it anymore.
Okay.
And then as she got to junior high school and now high school, people don't say anything about it. I think people, they given up on fighting the issue. But I think that was probably the worst experience that we had to go through. But it wasn't because of color. It was just because we stepped out of the traditional norms of Japan, But other than that, she's never had any problems. As a matter of fact, she's probably one of the most popular girls in school because she's very funny, and she just rules at school. She's a bubbly person, and she's great.
So what would have been the ramification or ramifications if, like, I don't know, like what would they have done? Expelled her or suspended her?
Probably.
Really?
Probably.
And then she couldn't go to any school whatsoever, or?
It depends. I mean, that probably would have been like the final punishment if they chose to act upon that. But it never happened. We just never gave up on that. We just thought, she's not going to school wearing, any type of jewelry, And I said it doesn't matter. There are many cultures where people sometimes have beads, or some cultures where you have to have some type of adornments, So we have, earrings, pierced ears, but her school was okay, so they allowed it. But some schools, even if you have your ears pierced, if you have a hole in it, they won't allow you.
Wow.
Or color your hair. So so her hair is, she got older, it darkened, but it's kind of like brownish black.
Okay.
Brownish black. But I thought at first they were going to tell all the kids they have to have their hair dyed black, but I think that's slowly changing now too in Japan. Before it's like you have to have your hair dyed black. You can't have a perm, you can't have curly hair or any other color. It has to be black. But she hasn't had pressure on that part.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never knew that.
There are some schools still they're very strict about it. And, they don't want it, no matter what. And if you do, again, there could be some ramifications. But in my case, they kind of, scaled back, the rhetoric. And now all is okay and peace in the realm.
So what do you think was the thing that made them back down? Like, what was it? Was it explaining that culturally in America it's acceptable, etc.? Like, what was the thing that you said, communicated to the school that made them?
Well, I told them I can't undo. I can't undo the earpiece. I told them it's done. It's done. So,
okay.
And so I said, she's a good student, and she, we promised she's not going to wear any jewelry, so they thought it might be a bad influence on other kids, but it's okay. It worked out.
So why Fukuoka? Like, what is it about this prefecture that attracted you?
Good question. When I first came to Japan, I was living in Hiroshima, and I liked it very much. I mean, Hiroshima is a great place. People are great food. I love their culture. But I got a job offer. That job was in Fukuoka. And the company said they wanted to see me for an interview. And what happened was I decided, okay, I will take them up on the offer. They paid for my travel, everything. Got to Fukuoka, did the interview, got hired. And when I was walking around the city that very first day, I immediately fell in love with the city and never left. Been here ever since.
So what was it about Fukuoka that was different from Hiroshima that drew you?
I don't know. It's the vibe, the people, just the beauty. I love the nature. We're so close to the beach. It was just everything about it. It was just calling me. I felt like, the city was calling me. So I thought, This seems like a great place, so I decided to stay.
So since you came to Fukuoka back then, you haven't left?
No, I have not.
Okay. What's one lesson that you've learned out of all your time in Japan? Like one thing that stuck with you?
No matter what obstacle you have to go through, whatever roadblock, is in your path, just fight. Do whatever you can to overcome it. Okay, I think anyone can be successful in any country if they put their mind, heart, blood, sweat, and tears to it.
Yeah.
I think it's doable. I don't think that there's anything that people cannot do. I don't find Japan really that complicated. So I think you are the only person, you yourself are the only person that can, inhibit your growth. Other than that, I think you do have a lot of free reign in this country. So I think, I think, sky's the limit. It can be, so, but never let your fear of failure be greater than your desire to succeed.
Okay. So you said Japan, you don't find it very complicated, right? Was there a time when it was complicated to you?
I found in the beginning when, really couldn't speak the language that it was a little bit difficult because there were just a lot of misunderstandings. And that can put a lot of, stress. That can put a lot of stress, on anyone. But the more you know, the more you learn, the more you grow. Yeah, right. And the more you interact with people, it just tends to iron itself out. And it just becomes just that much more pleasurable, the entire experience.
Okay, so how did you learn Japanese?
Many ways, through lessons, children, family, reading books, self-study. There are a number of ways.
Okay. So which one did you find to be the most effective?
Probably, taking classes or basically dealing with children. When you deal with children, I think you learn a lot faster because you learn the latest colloquial, dialects and the new words and idioms. It's great. That helps a lot. It helps quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. They keep you current.
Yeah, keep it current. Just keep it current. That's right.
So what's the black community like in Fukuoka? What's that like?
What is it like?
Are there a lot of black people here?
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, I know quite a few. I think it's pretty good. I think it's growing, actually. I think it's growing. And there are a lot of good people here. There are a lot of good people in Fukuoka, and I think this is a good place for black people. I think actually better than a lot of places in Japan.
Okay.
I think this is becoming kind of a mecca slowly. You're starting to see more and more blacks, come to this city. It's not as lively as Tokyo.
Okay.
But it is a great city. It's got beautiful nature, trails, hiking, shopping, space, land. So I think Kyushu is a great place to be. Definitely.
Any advice for other people, like black people or otherwise, who want to move to Japan?
I think if you want to move to Japan, I think go for it. It's a great place. Of course, as with any country, you have to do the research and make sure this is a place where you want to be. Try to learn the language. It just makes everything so much better. You don't have to be able to speak it perfectly, but if you can at least read it, you know what it is. You're going to the restaurant, you can read the menu. Okay, you can basically read the sign at the station. It helps a lot. It helps quite a bit. It helps a lot, and it just makes your life that much easier. So and then the people will receive you, a lot better than when you're struggling and when you can't. So I can't emphasize that enough. It's not like you have to be able to speak it fluently. I don't think anybody is expecting that, but at least know the basics. So if you can just know the alphabet, you've accomplished a lot. Okay,
so if you had 30 seconds to speak to the world or whoever's watching, what message would you send to them?
Well, I would like to say, to people that I want everybody to have peace. There's enough conflict on this planet. Life is short. Life is good. We're all in this together. And I think we make the best out of life. I think just being alive, just that part of just being alive, that you can wake up, that you can see the sun rise, that you can walk, that you can eat, you can open your eyes, that you're not missing hands or limbs. Be thankful for whatever you have in your life. Just be thankful, and try not to look at the negatives of everything, and just try to overcome it. Because there's good in everything. So if you come with a good attitude, and whatever you have, whatever trials and tribulations you're going through, just try to overcome that. Try to be positive. Okay, just try and be. We're not perfect. The only thing we can do is try, and that's it. That's what I would tell
All right.
them.
So where can people find you online?
You can find me at Awesome Kyushu, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a big thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.